This video is brought to you by GameMaker. And if you've ever wanted to get into game development, GameMaker does this really crazy thing where it's free. Just start making and only pay when you want to release your game to the world commercially.
It's fast, it's user-friendly, and there's easy-to-follow tutorials, plus a dedicated community to help answer even my questions. How make man jump? GameMaker is a 2D game engine that's helped bring some of yours and my favorite recent experiences to life, like UFO 50, Chicory, Anton Blast, and of course, Yahtzee's own Starstruck Vagabond.
Ooh, we talking about GameMaker? I love that program, it's so easy to use. As well as Starstruck Vagabond, I also used it to make all 12 projects in my 12 games in 12 months Dev Diary challenge. And I couldn't believe how much sex I got out of that. None. I got none at all. Which I couldn't believe.
So what are you waiting for? Head on over to the GameMaker link in the description and start cracking away today, because we want to play your game.
Yeah, looking through this list, I'm seeing one of you made Armpit Fart Tycoon, and I've got several questions for you. Hello, and welcome to DevHeads, the podcast focused on the ins, outs, and goings on of game development, with host experience ranging from indie, double, usually to AAA, but unfortunately Tina can't be with us today. Typically, but I am joined by my wonderful co-host Mikey. Hello, Mikey.
Hi, everybody. Good to be here. I represent AA, as Jay eloquently described.
And I'm indie, and I'm Jay. But Tina can be here with us today, unfortunately.
Yes. Tina's busy, unfortunately, but we're still here.
Yeah, we're going to be here for you guys. How is everyone doing in chat? I just want to read off. We just got a bunch of people in Green Gang and some gift memberships as well. So I'm going to read these off right at the top before we get started. We got Zero. We got Smigglesworth. C. Wizzy. 95. Broy.
I like Broy.
Ooh, it's a shark. Upgraded their membership. Damn, they like, you guys deserve an upgrade. Thank you very much. Shilling. Oh, I can't pronounce that one. And Abdul Corrales just sent. I can't do it one more time.
Okay, Schlingle. I think like a shingle, but with an L before you finish the sh.
My dyslexic brain just can't take that in. And and Abdul Corrales just gifted a membership to Sovereign, which is awesome. Oh, actually, and a donation. Thank you so much. Alex Armstrong gives $2 to say, translation, do you want more of the same or new theme? Hey, so yeah, we're gonna get into some of our sequel stuff in a bit. We've got some stuff we want to touch on. To be fully transparent with people, we're going to try something a little bit different. Usually when we on DevHeads, we're kind of keenly focused on one thing with our specialist guest, but we're going to try something different with going over a range of topics, more in a kind of a newsy way, kind of similar to Firelink. So if you guys like what we're doing here, have you got any things that you see could be improved or you want to see in the future, you can drop it down in the DevHeads chat. We got another donation. Oh my gosh. Marith, $2 says, what counts as a sequel? Yeah, that is a good question. We'll save that one. I'll come back to that those two questions later on when we get to those. For anyone who is wondering why we're getting so many donations and green gangs, is because yesterday on the channel we released a video explaining some of the view dip in that we'd seen across the channel as a whole, and why we think that might be happening due to some YouTube AI shenanigans. And you guys have really come through supporting us here on YouTube and Patreon. So thank you to everyone who's recently in the Green Gang or in the Patreon. I hope you really enjoy the exclusive content you get. And just know that all of your donations that come in here on DevHeads are going directly to supporting the entire team and keeping shows like this going. So thank you so much. So if you have any questions as we're going through, imagine yourself as Tina, right? We're down a Tina. So imagine yourself as Tina, think about Call of Duty, and ask questions to us, and we'll slip them in to the entire
The chat is co-host today. The chat is Tina. Adopt Tina's affect, everybody.
Embody. like have a muffin on or a bagel on your desk and longingly look at it, waiting for the podcast to finish, because she always has food.
Oh, okay.
Just below frame.
Okay. Maybe I haven't been that observant. I haven't noticed that.
Whenever we finish pod, she's like, "All right, I'm gonna go eat," and she just like lifts it up and it's prepped. And I'm like, "How long has it been sitting there?" But so today we're just gonna jump in. We skipped an episode to help with scheduling last week, but recently something happened that I think I want to touch on a little bit, which was Gamescom. How familiar are you with Gamescom, Mikey?
Fairly familiar. When I was working on Insurgency Sandstorm, we had a proper booth there. Gamescom is in Cologne, Germany, so part of my job at the time as the design lead was to go out there and man the booth, and it was open to the public, right? It's a gaming event that's open to the public, but there's a lot of industry stuff too. People were coming in, they were trying Sandstorm. We had a couple different staff that were helping us at our booth that were not from our team, but from an external team. And then we had some developers. And it's just like, E3 or PAX or one of those other events where people come, they check out the game, you answer questions, you're on your feet all day. They're very tiring. I think, did Eric just put Tina on the screen, actually?
Yeah, there's a little animated Tina.
Hi, Tina. But yeah, so it's
Tina.
one of those events. The special thing about Gamescom, I think, is I'm pretty sure it's the biggest one that's open to the public and press.
Is it really?
And professional. I think it's physically it's the largest. There's so many halls. I'm ready to be corrected on that, but I think it is definitely. I'm pretty sure it's the biggest one. What was the attendance? We wrote it down somewhere.
The attendance.
Yeah, which is record attendance, at least for the event, but maybe for any. So it's a pretty big one, because it's not like a GDC, which is more professionally and educationally directed. This is like everybody can come in.
And there's more of a focus on like game reveals and like playing games, rather than like not really game reveals, but like playing games is a huge thing at GDC, but it's not necessarily people trying to drum up hype for their game. It's more of like, hey, there might be investors here, or there might be people we can work with. Let's show off some things to our peers. Whereas Gamescom is like, the public is here. Let's like get everyone hype. And Jeff Keighley being one of those who's like heading this up with all of these new releases coming out. Like, were there any standouts for you? Like, did you see any reveals that you were interested in?
Yeah, there were a few. To me, it's kind of like Gamescom does everything. Gamescom has the important dev conferences. I wasn't able to go this year, but if I had gone, I would have met with people that I know professionally, like existing clients, potential clients, that kind of thing. It's that sort of event where somebody goes and they meet with their partners, right, or other people on the team. And then it's also the public facing stuff. It's also for reveals. To me, it like hits all of the it covers all of our bases as far as the stuff you would get out of a gaming event, professionally and commercially, and as a gamer. For me, I think the big ones that stuck out were Resident Evil Requiem, because I'm a big Resident Evil dork, and Hell Let Loose Vietnam. Looks pretty sick. I think that I'm very curious to see what they're going to do. I'm a Hell Let Loose fan because I really like slower paced military shooters that are like kind of on that end of the spectrum. They're not as fast as Call of Duty or Battlefield or whatever. They're not as like, but what's nice about Hell Let Loose, I guess, is it's not as, to me, slow or methodical or strategic as a game like Tarkov or Squad or Arma. It's like a little bit pushed out of that end, but not fast paced by any means. Yeah,
it's kind of slightly to the left from the middle on the milsim spectrum.
Yeah.
And I really like that. Of what I've played of Hell Let Loose, I really, really enjoyed it. And the whole Vietnam kind of setting kind of died away recently. People had stopped kind of touching on it. But I think it's a good setting for these kind of milsim games, mainly just because of their geography. I think the geography is really interesting for this kind of combat and using different camos and stuff like that. With Requiem, what excites you? Did you see the gameplay reveal of Requiem?
I did. Yeah. I think it's interesting they're doing both first and third person. I think that's cool.
Me too.
I think it makes sense. I'll be curious to see whenever that happens and we talk about like a shared animation rig where you don't have unique first person weapon animations because they have to be shared with a third person one. I'm assuming that they do that. I don't remember from the trailer. or the gameplay. But whenever that happens, I'm always like a little leery as far as the quality of the animations, because I find that generally speaking, if you want to get the best 1P animations, you're going to have to do separate. But a lot of people have tried to combine. It's gotten a lot better for a lot of teams that do a combined approach. So with that, I think I'll be curious to see. But that's like a minor aesthetic nitpick. Otherwise, like I'm just excited and curious. I feel like there wasn't too much to tell in the gameplay. Like we could see running around from the monster. We could see how scary the monster was. We could see Resident Evil style poking around in the dark looking for stuff. The lighting was, fantastic and well executed. Like it's very much just another good Resident Evil game. I like that we're going back to Raccoon City. That's got some nostalgic appeal, but also like as a fan of the franchise, that has me curious, right? Like, when Raccoon City blew up, what happened afterward? Like what's going on? So I liked that angle of let's return to an old place and other things too. But yeah, what about you? What were your thoughts?
I think we can start a little bit of our sequel chat here, because going back to you speaking about being first and third person, I think that's fascinating because the series has had a really interesting relationship with specifically third person action. And once we got to 4, they were using the kind of over the shoulder, but specifically laser sight kind of aiming when it wasn't on a sniper rifle or anything. And I've always found the laser sight gameplay very finicky, mainly because I'm colorblind and I find it very hard to see the lasers and like where they're aiming. So I've always really struggled with that. But I'm interested to see whether when you're in third person with a weapon in Requiem, they maintain that kind of laser sight motif, and then it's turned off maybe when you're in first person, and it's like, how are they going to do it in first person? Are they going to do iron sights, or are they going to use a reticle? And then if so, are they just going to mimic that reticle in the third person perspective and get rid of the laser thing entirely? Because I think that does change. I as much as I struggle with it, I do find that the laser aspect of the shooting was kind of similar to the tank controls of the originals. They are an extra barrier for you doing the thing you want. And that clunkiness kind of makes things scarier. It's kind of similar to the cameras. So if it's just a crosshair, I don't know. I think a lot of its charm will be lost. But hopefully, I'm excited as well that we're going back to Raccoon City, but they could very easily fuck that up, in my opinion. Being a little bit too homage-y, like, oh, we're going back to the police station and we're doing this, and like, here's Leon, and like, I really hope they try and do something different with it. And it's not just slightly crumbling areas, right?
Right. Here's what I'll say. We don't know until we play, of course, as always. But I think things are promising. We have to give Capcom a lot of credit. Maybe I fanboy about them too much, but I think that they deserve this credit. Resident Evil 6 was a real trip, right? It was a real misstep, I think. And a lot of people would probably agree.
Oh, yeah.
There was certainly some cool things about it. The combat actually had a surprising amount of depth to it, even if it was kind of wacky.
Agreed.
And there was a lot of like fun aspects to the co-op, and it got a good laugh. Like the goofiness had some appeal, but it was also really goofy and like really not a horror game or franchise. It didn't feel that way. Going from 6 to 7 and going back to that horror theme, picking a good aesthetic and setting, introducing a new character, going to the first person, these were all risks, right? I think Capcom continues to establish that they're not afraid to take risks, and they keep doing that. And I think that the remakes of 2 and 3 and 4 have showed that they know how to rethink and be innovative in a way that still like pays homage to the old stuff. And also, like, let's give them credit here. Like, they didn't choose Leon Kennedy. They didn't choose Chris Redfield. They went with a character who's the daughter of a reporter from a PlayStation 2 game, Resident Evil Outbreak. How many people in the chat remember Resident Evil Outbreak? That's like, there's some risk that was taken there, and I think that shows that they are willing to take risks, which is good for creativity and when I get into a game and I see a game that's taking those risks, I don't have too much of a fear that they're just going to go for the member berries, right, or the nostalgia factor. Someone said, "Why not Dino Crisis, though?" Fuck yeah, Dino Crisis.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do think they're owed their dues for what they've done with the franchise recently, and I've been brought back. Right, I was a big fan of Resident Evil, and I kind of dropped off after 6. But someone mentioned in the chat last year for Halloween, I played through 7. And was very impressed. That I had a bunch of criticisms, but I was impressed with the new direction, and I own Village, and I've been saving it for this Halloween so we could potentially do some streams of it, which I'm sure we will do if people are wanting that. Sir John, we'll do that just for you.
Village is fun. You'll like it.
That makes me excited for this.
Action oriented, but yeah, go ahead.
And it's kind of campy, right?
Yeah,
like
it's kind of
its narrative.
It's definitely campy, but it's Resident Evil, so like it's always campy. They just push the campiness a little more. Yeah, I would say the progression for this is like a really dubious comparison, but I think there's some truth to it. Maybe some people disagree. Feel free. The tone progression from 7 to Village, which is 8, is I think similar to the tone progression from 2 or 3 to 4. Maybe not that extreme, but they toned up a little bit on the campiness and the action. And I'm thinking of one segment. I don't want to spoil it, but I think that you'll like it. I'll be curious to see your reaction to it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm super excited. I feel like 9 or Requiem is kind of a mix of the advancements from 7 and 8, but bringing back kind of the tone of maybe like 2 and 3. And I think that's really, really cool. And I hope it plays like kind of old school Resi, more puzzle orientated. It's one of the things I was really missing from 7 was that I really enjoy the puzzles and like the sneaking around the mansion and then getting to do a bunch of puzzles. And in 7 there was a lot of get chased by the new villain of the week. As much as I loved I think they're called the Baker family.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
I really, really liked the sneaking around, but like when we got into the boss fights and stuff, I was just kind of like, I was like, okay, come on. And then for anyone who's played it, they just don't fucking die. Like they don't die. But that's part of the the narrative. But I hope it's a little bit more horror orientated, puzzle horror game. That's what
it seems
like.
I
want from it.
I mean, you're an FBI agent, right? Like you're supposed to be a protagonist, tough person. But the way that they're at least marketing the character and showing us is she's just like a kid, right? Like she's young, she's naive. This is an emotionally meaningful thing for her with her mother's death. And is she petulant? I didn't see her too petulant in the media.
Oh, well, in the opening when she's on her laptop and she's just being a bit bratty.
That's right. Yeah,
but that's just the whole narrative.
That's true.
Yeah, but then this is the whole your sassing mum just before she dies trope. Like this just it's par for the horse.
How sad,
sure.
Right? No, you're right. So there's a little bit of sass in there, and she's a kid. The acting's also excellent. There's a moment in the trailer where like she says a line like I'm so scared, which is a really hard line to deliver as an actor, I think, to be like to say something like that in a convincing way that's just a direct statement of your emotions. I forget the line, but I remember hearing that and seeing that and going like, wow, Resident Evil really like found the right people for this, for the English audience. And it's great. I'm excited. I actually really like how you put it. Like they're trying to keep it modern, but they're scooping out some of the tone from 2 and 3, which they've only just recently visited with the HD like remakes that they did. So I'm here for it. I think it's going to be really cool.
And I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I mean, Jinx, we both said I'm here for it at the exact same time. My God.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. Usually when I watch a gameplay demo, I'm usually like, okay, cool. Or I'm like, I'm never touching this ever. because from a gameplay demo, you can really see how much like bullshot has been shoved into it. For people who don't know, bullshot is the art of faking trailers and gameplay to make it look a certain way to sell them to the masses. And if you are either a seasoned gamer or working game development, it's very easy to spot bullshot. Usually how the character's moving or the camera's operating. Very famously seen with like, No Man's Sky and stuff like that. I saw those trailers and immediately was like, nope. This isn't gameplay. This is manufactured. But this felt very genuine. It felt like someone was the one I watched a YouTuber I really like called Jack Frags, and he was playing for it, and getting to watch someone actually play it was it's worth all the money in the world rather than just some bullshot trailer of not gameplay. I'd much rather see someone I trust and their opinions actually going for it. And they were terrified. So yeah, it's really, really, really sold me on the game. So I'm looking forward to it. When is it coming out?
Requiem release date. Let's double check. February 2026 is what Google says.
Oh,
which makes sense. So
okay.
Pretty soon, honestly. That's gonna fly over to us.
Yeah.
One last comment, or one comment in the chat. Maybe we can move on to the next thing. Tossify says, I would compare RE7 and 8 to horror movies. RE7 was a classic 80s slasher movie, while RE8 was a 50s monster movie. Bela Lugosi would have fit right in.
Bela Lugosi.
That's fair. Yeah. Lugosi, excuse me, and my ignorant tongue. I think that's true. That's a good comparison to the tone. I don't recall a lot of like Full Auto Fury in any of those 50s monster movies. That was the action spin that I was referring to, but I think that's pretty on par. The environment of RE8, the mansion, was pretty sick. And there were some genuinely like fucking scary parts. I remember in 8.
I'm really excited.
I got more scared of 8 than I did of 7, to be honest with you.
I don't know the particulars, but all I know from someone who's described it to me, and for people worried about spoilers, this is extremely vague, so I'm sure you'll be fine. Is that they described it as like there are factions, and one of them's vampires, one of them's werewolves. Like there's like Creature of the Black Lagoon kind of similar sections and stuff. And that, as someone who's like a massive fan of like old school, especially the Universal black and white horror movies, that really scratches an itch for me. That I think I'm really going to enjoy. I've genuinely had it in my account for over a year and have wanted to play it ever since, but I've just been saving it for the community for Halloween. So I'm really excited. We'll jump into it in October. So another thing that is very dear to me and Mikey, that was our last podcast, was we played a little bit of the Battlefield 6 beta, which I don't know about you, Mikey. I really, really enjoyed. What was your overall thoughts on the beta?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, it was a return to form. When I say that, I guess I should kind of clarify. My favorite Battlefield is probably Battlefield 2. Like I've been playing Battlefield since Battlefield 1942, and I mean the only ones that I've really skipped out on, I think there were a few, but I've been playing for most of them for a while. And my favorite was Battlefield 2, which I could talk about all the reasons why, but it was mostly about the pacing. Even though the gunplay wasn't great and it was dated and there were some balancing issues, I really liked the pacing. Like your life had the perfect amount of length to it, and death had the perfect amount of meaningfulness to it. I think that this Battlefield is not a return to that form, but it's a return to the form of like new Battlefield of what was kicked off and popularized by Bad Company 2.
Bad Company.
And Battlefield 3 and 4. And that's fine.
Yes.
Like I still really like that, and I had a lot of fun, and I kind of mainlined it, and I've been playing 2042 a lot, and I was actually very happy with it. My complaints were pretty minor. I think the biggest one, honestly, is I hope that they get the vehicle design right. I hope they expanded a little bit from what we saw in the beta, and also the open maps, of course. Like I want more maps, and I'm not a fan of the open weapon class design, but overall, really, really liked it.
So, why have you been playing 2042?
I've got the itch, man. Like I'm finally into like a AAA FPS, multiplayer FPS, and it rocks. It's nice. And so I jumped into that. Also, I have to confess, I'm not usually this kind of gamer, but I'm sort of grinding the battle pass a bit. I think I'm 3 or 4 pages in at this point. And I don't know, like the 2042 has been fixed up a lot. There's still some issues that I don't like, but it has some strengths, like the vehicle design, as I was just describing to you. I love using the MAV, which is like a 5-seater, and everybody except for the driver and the spotter in the 5th seat has a unique gun that you can customize that operates differently. And there's some fun like tank gameplay where 4 people can sit in a tank and everybody has a role. There's a driver gunner, a secondary gunner, tertiary gunner, and a spotter. And that's a thing that I really like about 2042. And then there's some other stuff too. Aesthetically, some of the maps look pretty cool. But overall, like, I was pretty inclined to jump back in.
Yeah, I think a lot of players are feeling similar. Like when the beta ended, I genuinely missed the beta. Like the day it was closed, I was like, I want to play. And the itch to go back to 2042 or a different Battlefield, be like Battlefield 1 or 5, which I think are better than 2042. Well, where 2042 was, that was the motivation, but that changed when EA dropped a surprise update for 2042, which was, as Mikey mentioned, an entire new battle pass that they released for free. You do not need to pay money to use it. And it has cosmetics for Battlefield 6. So by playing 42, you can unlock unique cosmetics that I will assume will disappear once the battle pass ends. Inside Battlefield 6, which isn't even out yet. Which is incredibly smart. Along with an update to the game, they added new vehicles and weapons and a new map, which was a reimagining of one of the maps from Battlefield 5.
Iwo Jima.
Incredibly smart.
It was pretty
move.
Fun too. Yeah, it was a good map.
Yeah, like a volcano version of it. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, volcano version. Everybody in there. I talked about the MAV. The MAV is just like an amphibious, big hunkin' APC of a vehicle with 5 seats, and it's a mobile spawn point. So it's like an excellent, as far as vehicle design goes, it's an excellent example of how Battlefield has evolved and made its vehicle play more fun and consequential to objective capturing, right? And team spawning and like navigating like the guiding the herd of puppies to spawn with you and attack objectives. That's like the MAV is a good sample of that. And Iwo Jima in 2042 begins with a huge amphibious assault of those, the U.S. Marine team against the Russians. It's super fun. It was pretty well done. The Conquest layout felt a little too spread out, but the Breakthrough one was pretty fun, although maybe a bit imbalanced. But I really liked it.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. I think just everything EA did, and this is really weird to say, but I think EA have been really smart with what they've done with 2042 and the whole beta, because the beta was incredibly popular. It had the highest concurrent player count of, I think, any shooter ever in its beta. It beat every Call of Duty. And I think what we've seen, and we've got some things here, Activision might genuinely be scared a little bit or intimidated by Battlefield 6, which has been proven by their responses to a lot of these things. So the first one is to bounce off of the Battle Pass. They've just been like, oh, by the way, we're randomly adding a skip to the current Battle Pass so you can get some free levels. Why have you done that? So for people who don't know, Battle Passes make the majority of their money. Like after a game's core life cycle, when they're just doing Battle Passes, they make a horrific amount of money. So to add a skip to it is interesting. And in my opinion, the only real reason to do that is because they want to garner some goodwill from their community. Like if you're playing Call of Duty and you look over at Battlefield and you see, oh, in the Battlefield that is kind of permanently discounted at the moment because 2042 kind of is, there's a free Battle Pass and it will give me cosmetics for the next game. Then you come back to Call of Duty and you go, oh, I have to pay for my Battle Pass and grind for it too. That doesn't really like which one looks like better value to you? Which one looks more enticing? So I think they're doing it in response to Battlefield.
Yeah,
what do you think, Mikey?
I agree. I think that there's some fear, and how could there not be, right? Like Call of Duty has been as Call of Duty is a cultural force, right? Is the way I've heard it described. It's significant. It's special. It's I think it's a position that you get to as a developer, as a company, or as people who manage the IP. And I think you inevitably kind of rest on your laurels, and you do everything you can to stay in that spot. I think a big part of what Call of Duty has had to do, or felt that it had to do at least, was to monetize really effectively, keep putting out those annual releases, and just like maintain the brand as carefully as possible. And I think one of the ways that they've done that is with the cosmetic approach, right? Where they release all of these character cosmetics that are very branded, right? And you can only and I'm somebody who's dealt with this on a military first-person shooter. Like, it's hard to maintain your aesthetic. It's very difficult to maintain your aesthetic and keep thinking of new character cosmetics. And I think that's one of the things that Call of Duty has strayed from. They strayed from their aesthetic because they kind of had to, because they had to maintain, and they were unsure about how to maintain the influence and the presence that they needed to in gaming, in the medium. And one of the ways they did that was, of course, like, here's a The Boys crossover, right? Here's a Gundam crossover. Here's some T-Rex cosmetics. Here's American Dad. Here's Beavis and Butthead. Here's Spawn.
And that works, right?
And it does. Like, it works to some degree. I think some of the choices seem strange to me, because we were talking a little bit with Tina about this. It's kind of strange. Like, it definitely works to some degree, and it's very Fortnite inspired, you could say. But also, like, some of the brand choices seem strange. They feel very millennial when you would expect them to go after like a younger audience, right? Like, are the Zoomers really watching American Dad? Are the Zoomers enjoying Spawn? That was almost like a year or two ago, I think, at this point. But it still stands to make an example of it. Like, there's a lot of the brand crossover that I'm just not sure of. But I think that they finally realized they went a little bit too far, and that's kind of why we're seeing some of these responses.
Yeah, and I think there was a time when Battlefield and Call of Duty were kind of neck and neck. Like, they were the shooters. They were the Call of Duty was going to be a little bit more bombastic, a little bit more spectacle, and Battlefield was more of like the entry level military sim, like a little bit more about vehicles and objective play and stuff like that. But now, since I think about Battlefield 5 and that's downfall, and then straight into 2042, Call of Duty has been the king and has been able to just do what they want. And as you said, a lot of that's through skins. And what I think is really interesting is when you mentioned the demographics and how they're not really lining up. It's really interesting how they released a Nicki Minaj skin, which Tina mentions made money, like did really well. And you think, oh, who's going to buy that? Apparently a lot of people, because, it's selling, and they've got to find a way to make money. But I think it's really interesting that I think it was the director, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tina Chat Hybrid over there. They mentioned that in Battlefield 6, they're going to attempt to ground their cosmetics, and they said, and I tentatively quote, "We're not going to have Nicki Minaj running around." So they're taking a dig at Call of Duty, saying, "Hey, we're not going to add this bullshit." And what's fascinating is, along with the Battle Pass, they have also said that they're going to scale back their cosmetics and make them more grounded in Battlefield. Not Battlefield, in Black Ops 7. And I think that's fascinating. I think we're moving more towards the era where they had to compete with each other and they had to kind of learn from each other. And I think that's incredibly healthy for the industry, that these titans are now battling again, if that makes sense, to use like a kaiju reference. It's kind of like Godzilla was off. Yeah, he was very... Godzilla he was reigning, he was king of the monsters over here, kind of just spewing out skins, and now, who would Battlefield be if they were a kaiju? Chat. Help.
Oh shit. This is a good question.
Who would Battlefield be? Yeah. If Call of Duty is Godzilla, what is Battlefield?
I don't know the Godzilla IP well enough, but it would have to be the one that you thought was defeated and then came back stronger than
King
before and made defeat Godzilla.
King Ghidorah.
Then. Godzilla.
King Ghidorah is the one with the three-headed dragon that when you chop the heads off, they come back, right? That's perfect.
Oh shit,
it's absolutely
that's
perfect.
pretty good. That's pretty good.
Mothra?
Can it have 4 heads? One for each class. The engineer head. The recon head.
Yeah, we're changing it. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Mothra? Battlefield isn't Mothra. Mothra would be like Fortnite. Fortnite is Mothra.
Fortnite. Why is Fortnite Mothra?
Because Mothra is a giant moth that like sprinkles dust around and just kind of like flaps at people. And Fortnite, I'm not shitting on Fortnite. Like Fortnite has made a lot of advancements for the industry and has done really, really well. But I view it as like if Call of Duty is over towards spectacle and camp, Fortnite goes another layer down and is like,
you know what?
This
You're
is
right.
for children, right?
Because Mothra being like, basically a butterfly and its colorful wings, its kind of showiness, that is representative of the cartoon art style and even the crossover branding cosmetic design art style of Fortnite. So you're right. As opposed to King Ghidorah, who looks like is about to fucking throw down and burn some people and more violent and thus more of an expression of the militarism of Battlefield and the genuine challenge to Godzilla. I don't think Godzilla... I don't know Godzilla IP that well. Did Godzilla ever have a problem with Mothra? I feel like Mothra looks like...
I believe they fought, but then I think famously Mothra is a friend of Godzilla and will show up to like help. Okay. It's weird. In most Godzilla flicks, he will fight them and then maybe they'll become friends or maybe he'll like rip their head off.
Got it.
It's a whole thing. Mothra protects the children. Yeah, kind of like Jet Jagger. All right, we're getting too Godzilla-y. I think it's really interesting. Like on Fortnite, that kind of started this. The unbelievable success of Fortnite. Like it's hard to fathom how well Fortnite did, and is doing. Right, it made money, and most of that's through the Battle Pass and skins. And it didn't start doing the Battle Pass. It didn't originate it, but they were the first ones to give currency through the Battle Pass that once completed, it allowed you to buy the next one. Which seems like, oh, well, you're buying, like, they're spending less money. They're losing money there. Yeah, but they're playing the game and they're continually doing the Battle Passes, which means they're being exposed to other skins, which means they are more likely to buy them because it's free and they're not spending money. So they're like, oh, I guess, I'll drop $10 on this skin. I've been playing it for a few months and I haven't paid a penny. This game's good value because it is. And then millions of people do that and they make bank. And because of those skins, that's why, in Warzone, when they span off and made their own Battle Royale, kind of now, I think it's more of like an extraction shooter now, but they went heavy on skins and that has just devolved, right? It's the exact same thing as Fortnite because Fortnite is famous now for its collaborations of getting fucking Godzilla in it, ironically, or like Ryu from Street Fighter or John Wick, and now Call of Duty is like, okay, well, we've got pull, let's get some IPs in. And maybe some of the why are they choosing like The Boys and Beavis and Butthead and stuff like that might be because Fortnite has cannibalized too many IPs and they can't do it. They can't like.
I think it's a common. I think you might be right. That might be part of it. And like, oh, we can't do what Fortnite did, or maybe just, oh, well, they don't want to associate with us because our audience it's too violent of a game, right? Call of Duty is. I mean, it's hard to call it violent because it's like military fantasy, basically. Like it's so goofy. But these brands probably don't know video games that well. I think it's a combination of that, but also the fact that, well, like the people who are running Call of Duty right now are probably a little older at this point, like on the exec level. They might be older than the ones on Fortnite, or at least like maybe a little less in touch with what the kids are into nowadays. If not because of age, just because they've been with Call of Duty for so long, right? Like Call of Duty's been around for longer than Fortnite. I don't know. It's kind of speculating here, but I think that could be a reason why. Is like when they go, well, what's cool? Hey, The Boys is a popular show right now. Let's go after an older audience, and I like The Boys. The Spawn example I think was really telling to me because Spawn as an IP, and again, this was a year or so ago, but they made like YouTube media of it. Like they advertised it pretty well. Terminator, all these things are more just older IPs that I think I could easily see a person on the team just saying like, I like Terminator, I like Spawn. Let's do a crossover with them. I'm going to reach out to them because I'm in a position where I can, and they would rationalize it as, well, it's going to be appealing to all the millennials in our audience, of which there are, many, probably more than Fortnite, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be real. I'm guilty of this. I have like, once my show reached a certain level of popularity, where like, I think once you reach a certain point, you can reach out to people and they're like more willing to work with you because you like have a following and stuff like that. And I have used that to talk to developers that I like and get them on my show because I just love their stuff. It's not like a lot of the ones where I made videos on TFT and like Sea of Stars and stuff like that is not because I think they're good videos, but it's mainly because like I love these people's work and I want to use my work as an excuse to like learn from them and like and I view that in a similar way of like, hey, I run Call of Duty, I like Spawn, because let's be real, Spawn is a very niche, like even for superheroes, it's a niche one to pick. And they're just like, well, I just want it in the game. And do you know what? More power to them. Like it's weird. I don't particularly want it in my, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the skins in like my Call of Duty multiplayer and like the previous some of the Battlefield 2042 ones are kind of bombastic and crazy. I don't like that. I think it affects readability of enemies. I think it makes it very cluttered and gross.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I agree. On the Spawn point, I'll say this on the other end of it. Some people in the chat are mentioning Spawn has IP dropped lots of things. Dropped into Soul Calibur 2, says Barg. And then somebody else said, oh, it was in Marvel Rivals, which you might know about. So it could just be a thing that like Spawn is doing the outreach and saying,
Spawn's
hey,
in Marvel Rivals?
Do it. Well, that's what, according to Speakeasy. Yeah, he was in. Maybe it's a more recent thing. So I don't know. It could just be a directive from the IP itself doing the outreach. But regardless, I think one of our theories, it's probably a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B with a lot of these aspects of cosmetics.
I'm happy that Call of Duty is moving in, not Call of Duty. I'm happy that Battlefield is moving in a direction that's leaning more towards, modern military shooter, like not to be nostalgic, but more Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, which is why I got into the franchise, why I really liked it. And I'm glad that that's going to make Call of Duty try to compete. Like, I wouldn't be mad if Call of Duty just went in the other direction and we're just like, hey, if you want your modern military
it's not
shooter,
military fantasy anymore. It's just fantasy but modern guns. And that's
yeah. I wouldn't be mad if they just stuck to their guns and were just like, yeah, we're fine with having IPs and we're fine with being bombastic. If you want just like modern military, just go play Batty. But they won't do that because they want all of the money. They don't want you playing Battlefield. They want you playing Call of Duty because that's how they make all the money. So they will do stuff to cater to that crowd. But in that sense, are they then going to lose the crowd that's there? Because isn't it fun that I can play Beavis and Butthead? Because those people do exist. They're buying the skins. So are you going to lose that? Are they going to then go to Fortnite? So it's
there's
weird,
a comment in the chat right here. Who said it? Let me scroll it back up. Mav says, my stoner cousin loves The Boys, Squid Games, American Dad, Snoop Dogg, Skeletor, Seth Rogen, and Beavis and Butthead. He bought every single one of these bundles. People do buy them. I mean, it's all a question of like audiences. I'm not saying it's like a terrible thing. I think for our taste and the kind of gamer that I am and the kind of developer that I am, and also for like, I think the good of creativity in the medium and having, a diversity of content, right? And different kinds of video games and video games that take risks. Like I tell this to Tina all the time, despite her Call of Duty history, like Call of Duty is not in a position where it could take very many risks, it seems. There's just too many stakeholders and there's just too much of an investment. And I think it's nice that there's finally competition, as you're saying. And while I understand that there's people that like all these things, it would be nice if we weren't stuck to that, because a lot of people have imitated Call of Duty, imitated Fortnite in the design that they do their cosmetics, and that's unfortunate for us as people who don't want that as gamers. And I got to say this though. I got to say this. With Battlefield, I'm very happy to see the competition. I'm happy to see the at least stated more grounded appeal. I'm happy to see that Call of Duty is trying to walk it back a little bit. But in regards to like Battlefield and even with Call of Duty, like we'll see. All right, we'll see. These things could easily just change, because I've been in this position. It's very difficult, even if you fully intend to stay grounded and realistic, because there's so many different people that want to put their thumbprint on something. They want to have a cool idea, and that's good. But it's easy to stray from your vision when you need to just keep on producing content, and there's so many people involved, and everybody's trying to push the envelope. And if you have a restriction like we have to stay grounded, it gets tough. And I wouldn't be surprised if they already have some cosmetics that look a little bit iffy. If you take a look at the Battlefield 6 media right now, you can see, I don't know, Eric, maybe we could pull it up, like look up the premium edition of Battlefield 6 and look at some of the characters on there with their red accenting and their ghillie suit with a mask that covers your face. It's already pushing it a little bit, and the game's not out. Now, granted, that could just be the pre-order bonus. I mean, it's
but also like, based on what you said, how do you push it? How, because I'm worried about it, because they said we want to keep it grounded. How do you continually make new skins that are readable as an enemy and on specific teams, then also not make it too bombastic, right? There's only a certain amount of things you can work with, be it with outfits, color, and silhouette. There's only so many things you can do, and it's the same for Call of Duty. If they in their next one get a little bit more grounded, when you expect a skin to make a certain amount of money, if they release a modern military skin and it makes okay money, give it a couple, and the stakeholders might be like, yeah, or we could release a Crazy Frog skin and make $1 billion. So
right, yeah,
let's just do that.
Right? In my opinion, it comes from a position of, and this is like, I keep drawing from this experience. But I'm doing that for a reason, right? Because I feel like I'm pretty intimately familiar with this problem, at least from the perspective of a AA multiplayer FPS lead designer, right? That was that's how I'm coming at this, which shows some bias and shows some limitation in my experience, but also like I have definite experience with it. You have to be disciplined and you have to have humility. We definitely had missteps on Insurgency Sandstorm where we wanted to push something out there and it was considered distasteful by the community, or it just felt like it would ruin the immersion. The Chinese New Year update, for example, was something that we pushed for, and players said, oh, this isn't it at all. Like, no, this looks ugly. This reminds us of Fortnite. We don't want to do this. And as a team, I'm happy that we were perceptive of that because we pulled it back and we said, you know what, we're not going to do this. We're going to do something else. It's very difficult. I could tell you, without going into like too much detail, of course, like there's a lot of internal discussions on teams where not everybody is aligned. Not everybody thinks it's the move, but there's a lot of questions where it comes like, look, you got to trust me. This pushes the envelope, but still stays grounded. There's a lot of compromise, and sometimes the compromise is good, and other times the compromise is bad because you get to this weird middle ground that ends up not looking good. So I think there's a great challenge that Battlefield has ahead of it. The good news is there's a lot of leeway right now when it comes to like modern warfare and all the paramilitary, less professional forces that are involved, where you can do pushing the envelope stuff that still feels grounded because it's happening. There's also a lot of war media nowadays. Like we get so much exposure to wars in Syria, to wars in Ukraine, to wars all over, and that gives a lot of reference material, a lot of real reference material for people. And a lot of these forces are looking like you wouldn't really expect. They're certainly not dressing up like, Nicki Minaj or with some of the crazy, colorful things that you see in some of these packs, but there's a good amount of flexibility. So I think the vision holder has to be really strong, and the team has to be disciplined. And you also have to have some humility where if the community says, stop, you went too far, you go, okay, and you actually stop. Now that sounds like maybe some grandstanding, and maybe it sounds like obviously true, but it is the truth. Like you just, because you might screw up, so you just have to do your best to have the humility.
Agreed. I think listening to the community is really important. I really commend what you guys did with taking back the Chinese New Year situation. I think that shows a lot of maturity as a team. But I also think there's a danger in listening to the community too much on a grand scale, because a lot of the times the vocal minority, like a lot of people can scream really loud and they can make a small problem a lot bigger. And I'm not just speaking about skins here, I'm just talking about in general balance of particular weapons and stuff like that, or movement and stuff. A lot of the times the loudest people, just because they're loud doesn't mean they're right. And there's a lot of testing you need to do. But I think it's interesting with, well, I've got a little bit on Call of Duty and then we can move on. But they're releasing a new one, and I'm really sorry to the person who said this when it was revealed. I keep using you as an example. I can't remember who said it, but if you're listening, I apologize. When it was revealed, they showed the whole dream thing in Black Ops 7, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. Like, this is interesting. This is different. It's not just putting me in a sandbox in a story play, like a main story mission, and just expecting me to kill everyone and get from point A to B. There's like a little bit of, you can do something interesting here, and there's something interesting you do with the narrative. This is very different. I'm here for it because I hadn't played a Call of Duty game in a long time, because I just wasn't very attracted to the franchise for a while. And I was like, do you know what? I'll try this. And somebody commented, this looked really interesting till I saw it was Call of Duty. And I was like, I think that's unhealthy to be like, oh, I like the looks of this, but it's connected to an IP that I don't want to like. So I'm not gonna engage with it. Because that's how developers stop making like new things and like trying to do new things. If you're just like, either it's not like the old thing I like, or X, Y, and Z. Like with Batty, I didn't like 2042, but I kind of appreciate that they tried something different. And they like pulled back on it and were like, actually, they listened to community about classes and they changed the game, but at least they tried, right? And with not Battlefield, Black Ops 7, what does the community want? Do they want something new, or do people just want Call of Duty but again? Like, this is getting down to the whole sequel question, is what do you want from a sequel? Like, we had some donations earlier, and I think this is a good time to bring them up. So from Alex Armstrong, translation, do you want more of the same or new theme? I think that's like one of the debates. And I think another one that I'm going to ask you, from Mirif with her $2, said, what counts as a sequel? Like, what's a sequel to you, Mikey?
When it comes to those conversations, I tend to be pretty literal about it. So I guess the literal thing is, if it's something in the franchise and or it's chronologically like after what's happened in the previous game, then it's a sequel. It doesn't have to be those things. I feel like it's kind of softened to just a sequel is just something with the IP, right? Because by that definition, you could call a prequel a sequel, but there's no longer much of an expectation of like things being chronological, especially because Call of Duty, we consider Black Ops 7 to be a sequel to Black Ops 6, obviously, but I think you'd also consider it to be a sequel to the Modern Warfare series, right? Yeah. Like there's multiple different, I guess, IPs within the IP working at the same time. At that point, it becomes like a little bit semantic as far as little definitions, but as far as like what makes a sequel is, well, it does need to use the more meaningful or more important aspect of what makes a sequel to me is there needs to be some level of familiarity. But there also needs to be some amount of risk, right? Like I don't think any game sequel should just be what existed before. I feel like most players and developers would agree with that. People who've been criticizing sequels, even Left 4 Dead 2, people were criticizing that because yes, this is a sequel, but this feels more like an expansion pack, right? There's not like a ton more content. It's a new setting, new weapons, new new enemies, of course. But at the same time, like, this all could have been an expansion pack. I think a true sequel takes some risks, whether it succeeds or not, and that's important. But also, you know, to Tina's credit, she's brought this up before. There needs to be some level of familiarity. You can't go like too crazy with the perspective or the genre blend. It's a really subtle thing, and it's all about the balance. And it's more of a question that's easy to answer, I think, when you talk about it with individual games. You know, like Black Ops 7, when we play it, we say, like, is this a proper sequel to Black Ops 6? Same with 007 First Light. Well, I guess that's not really a sequel in the sense that, like, it's been a while since there's been a 007 game. But there's a kind of progression, I guess, that I'm describing with a lot of the games that were announced at Gamescom that were a part of existing IPs or borrowing off of IPs that were like the obvious inspiration. Like, we need to ask ourselves if we're truly evolving from them while keeping the parts that we didn't want to evolve, so to speak, which, of course, 007 represents in terms of it's like an evolution of the Hitman formula. So it seems, but we'll talk a little bit about that and if that's the case from the gameplay showcase we saw.
Yeah. Do you want to touch on that now, or do you want to talk about some Silksong breaking the internet stuff?
We could talk about that. So 007 First Light had a gameplay showcase Wednesday, I think it was. And for people who watched it, I'm curious what you think, Jay, and people in the chat. I kind of expected something. Not expected. I kind of hoped for something a little less choreographed. What we saw felt like very, very manicured and pretty and presentable and
a little
authored.
bit bullshotty, tiny bit.
Yeah, maybe you use the term bullshot, and sometimes that's fine because you just want to show a particular set of features. But when I watched that, I thought to myself, like, it's so hard to tell like what the game's actually going to be like, even though it's literally gameplay. That's tricky. It's hard to make judgment calls. What I did see there felt like it was obviously very Hitman inspired. You could see the design there. It felt a little more open in terms of like the way that you resolve situations with more talkiness. Like, I don't remember any speech trees, for example, in Hitman. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. But there was that's nice, and that fits with the Bond stuff. I think the action segments were the part that drew. So those parts I was like kind of uncertain of. Like, it seemed like it was a little bit of an evolution. But the action segments I felt kind of weaker and more disappointed in. I think that third-person action is very difficult to get right. But what I saw there of that final segment, I get that it's just a part of the ensemble of the game, but I thought that it looked a little bit weaker as far as the innovations and the changes that they're making to the third-person action game formula. It felt pretty typical of a 2020s mildly cover-based third-person action game, as opposed to something like, I don't know, Control, right? Where the third-person action was fun because of all these cool abilities that you have, or Max Payne, right? Where the third-person action is fun because of the bullet time aspect. I didn't see anything like that. It just kind of felt like cover and shooting, and you have some fun grapples where you push guys and you run with them. That felt like
I was mixed. I am a new fan to the Hitman series. I recently played through Hitman 1, 2, and 3, as in the modern ones, and had an absolute blast. I was actually, and I'm still planning a level design video on one of the Hitman levels, because I genuinely think it might be the best level design I've ever seen in my life. It is immaculate.
Or do you mean a level?
I don't want to spoil it for the video. Yeah. I'll tell you after this, because I want it to be a surprise for the viewers. But it is, most of the levels are just mad. Like, how they guide you towards conclusions that you believe are your own, and how they navigate you through the environment, and all of the different ways you can achieve your goal of being a hitted man. Absolutely insanely good. IO Interactive like went from me being like, I don't really know what you're doing, to becoming one of my favorite studios, of just being like, these guys are like, with their level design and how they do their flow, they are smashing it. So when I found out they were doing James Bond, I was like, oh my god, like, this is a great fit. And what was interesting from the reveal, I think the dialogue's very interesting. Not necessarily the choice, but I think the voice actor playing James Bond is clearly very talented. I thought a lot of the quips and the dialogue he was having with some of the staff and with Moneypenny was I'm not sure it's Moneypenny he's talking to, but like it was very interesting. I liked it. I was immediately endeared to him. But I was constantly looking for Hitman. Like I was like, please be like Hitman. Please don't be as much as I love them, and don't get me wrong, I really like Uncharted. There is a very good series, and it's very spectacle based, and capital spectacle. Like it's very, very good. What I'm hoping for is that via gameplay, this has the flow of a Hitman game and the exploration and the player choice and freedom of a Hitman game, but it has the spectacle of an Uncharted, which we did see some of. I would rather load into a mission, have my way of achieving the goal, and once the goal is achieved, I am then placed in a set piece situation, right? Of like escaping or things have gone wrong, and now I experience that spectacle.
Your peaks and valleys, right? You have the low key, sneaky Hitman style gameplay, and then it sounds like you're describing. Then I want to do the car chase, or then I want to do the shootout, and then you come back down to sneaky Bond shit / Hitman shit. Let's give credit to 47. He was doing Bond before we got to Bond.
Yeah. And it's interesting, right? Because I played through the entire Hitman series, or the modern ones, with the lens of James Bond. I was like thinking about James Bond because I knew they were doing this. So I was thinking about when 47 speaks to his handler, and I was like, this just makes sense. You could imagine James ignoring that, and we see that in the gameplay. Like the handler is like, no, do not do that thing, stay at your post. And he's like, okay, and immediately gets up and walks away. Like, there's so much character we can explore through that, and that fits with the Hitman IP, or like the flow of the gameplay. I just think there's lots of opportunities here where they could blend the genre of like third-person action and the Hitman kind of gameplay flow. Because I was speaking to Yahtzee about it when I was just gushing about Hitman and how I've really slept on the franchise, and he was like, "Yeah, there's nothing really like Hitman. There aren't any other games that do that." And I really, really hope that they are doing that, and they are taking that formula and applying it to the James Bond IP, rather than they've been given the James Bond IP and they're just going to do third-person action spectacle stuff.
Well, I think you're going to get what you want. Here's my suspicion. I think you're going to get what you want, because it seems like, from what I can tell, and I've only played like some of the Hitman games. I played a bit of Blood Money. I played a bit of World of Assassination, like pretty recently. Blood Money I played like years ago. And I like it because I like immersive sim style games, right? I like the original Thief, System Shock, Deus Ex, and Hitman has a lot of that DNA in it, and it's a good modernization evolution of the genre, you could even say. But I think that I think what you're going to get is a slightly evolved Hitman style gameplay with all the spycraft stuff and sneaking around. There's a little bit of risk, I think, here of like it might become a little too streamlined. It might not be as open and nice as the Hitman one, because you're trying to have a more story-driven cinematic experience. So I get your fear there, but I think for the most part you're going to get what you want, because that team's just been doing it for so long. But we'll see. I mean, it could be a different person who's on it, who's newer. They could be split between the car chase aspect, the action fighting aspect. To me, it's like I'm very unsure. I'm very unsure of specifically the two of the 3/3, right? And those are the 2/3 of the driving segments and the action segments. I'm not too worried about the sneaky Hitman style stuff.
Spy aspect. I think that's
the spy stuff. I think they'll probably get it. Although I acknowledge the risks. But dude, like the car chase stuff. I don't know about you, but what I saw from the car chase stuff looked like, it's just like, to be fair to them, like what can you do? Car chases are driving the car, and you're gonna drive through some stuff. You're gonna go off
in a direction.
Ramps. You're gonna avoid
shoot some guys.
It's not like a game like, I don't know, and I'm not a big racing fan, but it's not a game like Burnout, In Burnout, it's like, all right, so you drive the car, but you're supposed to crash. And then they ran with it. And that's Burnout, right? And when you crash, you could steer the burning chassis of your driverless vehicle to smash into other cars and knock those out of the way. And that's an innovation. That's fun. And that's more engaging. What they have here, because they're restricted by the IP and the authoredness and the storytelling and the wanting to be like semi-grounded, I don't know how much fun the driving is going to be, except in the case of like the peaks and valleys it'll hit. And with the shooting stuff, I feel even more skeptical because it doesn't seem like they're taking any risks or trying anything new with a third-person combat.
Yeah. Well, what can you do with a lot of like this is one of the things why the FPS genre has struggled for a while is because what can you do to evolve first person or third person shooting? But on the topic of the driving, usually in games when they add gameplay sections like force stealth or stuff like that, I'm usually extremely critical. I think a lot of the times when you add half-baked mechanics, you are just doing a disservice to the player and their core experience. You should really focus on what your core experience is. But the IP of James Bond is so intrinsically linked to...
He does too much. He's too busy. He's
extremely busy. He does spy stuff.
Cars.
He does driving car stuff. He does gadget stuff. He does fucking stuff, dude. He's always he's going around fucking.
We need to gamify Bond sex and courtship.
Are we going to get some QTE pumping? Like...
Yeah,
I don't know.
There's the courtship and the act of sex that you need to do a quick.
That's going to be the next design delve when this comes out. Is going to be like the disappointing sex scenes in First Light. How I would jazz up the gameplay of the sex scenes. But yeah, I forgive them. Yeah, I think there's lots of IP. There's lots of stuff in the IP that I think they need to touch on. I think they need to touch on the driving. I think like Bond is arguably more famous for the cars that he drives in his movies than sometimes the actor. Like the cars he's driving and the gadgets he's have are very intrinsically connected to the era of Bond and the specific character playing them. So I think there's going to be car chases. There's going to be aspects where the car chases are kind of rough, but then James Bond later on gets his own car that has all the gadgets and can do things. You're going to get a little bit of that juxtaposition gratification. I think it could be cool. I trust the team. I just really hope this is good and it does well, because I would hate for this to flop. And then
the way you tilted back on video that moment.
I am so in love with their Hitman games that I'm like, I really hope, even if it's James Bond, I just hope this team gets to cook, and I hope this does well so they can keep cooking, right? Like, because I think they deserve it. It's really good. Anyone who hasn't played Hitman, if my gushing has not convinced you enough, please go pick it up, because they are fantastic.
We got to talk about Hitman sometime. I want to talk to you about the freelancer mode.
But
anyway, so I was smiling earlier because I think you made an interesting point about the importance of cars to Bond. When I played Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I actually I found a beautiful gray horse that I was riding, and I named it Bond Car, which I thought was always a great name for a gray horse.
That's a great,
because he's always. I mean, it's not always a gray Aston Martin or whatever, but I think you reminded me of that and made me think like that's one of the iconic things about Bond is the cars. So like in a sense, the dev team is restricted because they need to have the driving, they need to have the action, they need to have the spycraft, and I guess they looked over the fucking because I don't know, they didn't want to touch that, but we'll see. I don't know. Maybe there's some good fucking in the game. I think
fingers crossed.
I'm pretty. Here's the question I want to ask, and then we can move on. I feel like there must be something that you can do to make those two of the thirds good. What you just said about the cars and the gadgets, that's a great example. That's something I was actually not thinking, because I was thinking more of new Bond, right? Of Daniel Craig and stuff. But if you go back to the older Bond, all the whack ass shit where he's firing missiles and he's shooting guns, he's hitting ejector seats. Like so cool. Integrating some of that, which I hope they have planned, that's pretty cool. But when it comes to the shooting, I feel like there's something that could be done. But when I try to think about all the action scenes of Bond, it's kind of just like an action movie, which is what third-person action games and a lot of FPS games already are. They lead pretty heavily into the explosive barrels, for sure, and the explosive action appeal. But there must have been something that they could have tried. I'm curious what you think could have been explored. Maybe like a third-person action where he's more vulnerable. Maybe he never reloads. What if Bond never reloaded? Because he never reloads in the movies, and he just always had to scavenge guns off the gun. Think about it. That would be more interesting.
Yeah, he does. He's a scavenger.
You know what's nice about the new Doom games is, of course, it's very mobile. You're everywhere over to here, there, and there, and you have to do takedowns to get health back. You have to chainsaw to get ammo back. What if he did something like that in Bond? Like, he's got that beautiful tight suit, right? He's not stuffing any magazines in there, right? This ain't Heat, where they had those custom rigs, which looked awesome, where you could pull out magazines and load your fire down the street. But in Bond, I don't know, like, I wish that they had, and I hope they still will, maybe reveal some sort of innovation or experimentation like that to make this not just feel like another third-person action cover-based game. And that's one that I think could have been an interesting one. No ability to reload, and like we just see it in the clip here that Eric has up, throwing guns to hurt people, doing melee takedowns, scavenging guns. That, to me, would be a real innovation. And I bet it would make the third-person action not just feel different, but feel more fun and feel like Bond. Because Bond's whole thing is like, I mean, he's not a, we overuse the term tactical. He's not like a guy who's kicking in doors and clearing rooms, right? He's scrambling around, shooting guys. He's supposed to just be scrambling from one guy to the next, trying to get the hell out of there, basically.
I view him as like a white man's Jackie Chan, right? Like
white man's Jackie Chan.
He's
I watch
sometimes
a lot of Hong Kong action, so that's a funny way to put it.
Yeah, he's like. He's scrambling around. He's using his environment. He's there's usually a gag for the room he's in. He will use something in it. And am I talking about Jackie or James Bond? Who knows? There's always something in the environment. He's always grappling. He's always grabbing, taking weapons. Like you said, never reloading. We saw a little bit of that in the trailer, and I hope they really lean into that. I also think that just really lends itself to the Hitman series, right? Like you're constantly launching briefcases and like using things in the environment, scouring around to find tools to use to help you do things later on. But like maybe the whole inventory thing in Hitman, you can pick up like everything under the sun and hold it
and throw it and huck it at people.
And also his inventory is just like, I never encountered an inventory size limit. Like I had like multiple crowbars, like I had multiple things like all the time. So maybe the whole his suit's tight, like he's not able to use that stuff. But I think, I think this could really work, and I'm 100% here for it. I'm really excited to see what they do. I wasn't put off by the trailer. Obviously, like you said, it was a little bit manufactured, but that's par for the horse for for these types of studios. Just what it is. Yeah. As long as it sticks to the gameplay. I think another game that is really interesting in that was unveiled at Gamescom was Lego Batman: Legacy of the Dark Knight. I think
we got a real sleeper on our hands, don't we, dude?
Can you describe to the listeners what was revealed with that?
Yeah, well, there's the Lego series, right, which are kind of cutesy, directed toward kids, third-person action games, and they kind of started out and they were pretty simple. They felt a lot like, I don't know, the kind of games you'd play on PS1 or PS2 that have like local co-op on them, and you would it was a very linear experience of just, well, you run around and you attack people and you kill them and you pick up their loot and you move to the next room. Like that was, I think, the original Lego third-person action game design that they had. But that's since evolved. And Lego has actually taken like some risks. I think there was a game that was called like Lego City. Well, let me look it up. Lego City Undercover, which had at least a little, that came out in 2013. I think it had a little bit of an open worldness to it. And it was based on the city theme of Legos, which was my favorite as a child. But I think what people are doing now, or what the brand holders seem to be doing, is they're actually willing to take some risks with it. So they're basically what it looks like, just making Batman Arkham Asylum or Arkham City style game. I guess Arkham City is the closer comparison, but with Lego Batman. And if you watch the footage, you can see it's still cutesy. You've got a guy doing a Will Arnett sort of style voice. They've got a sense of humor. There's and then you see Batman style combat with blocks and attacks and experiencing all the different villains. And it's like cute, and like the lighting and the environment art is actually super good. So it's fun to see high fidelity Legos, and it's obviously got like a very silly tone, which obviously fits Batman really well. If anybody's watched like Batman Brave and the Bold, it's probably closer to something like that. Maybe more like Silver Age Batman. I don't know my Batman very well, but that's basically what we have in our hands, and it looks surprisingly decent. And it's probably a better Arkham style game than we got with Suicide Squad, right?
100%. I think that's the most interesting part, is that people have wanted a sequel to the kind of Arkham formula for a long, long time, and we just haven't been getting it because of the missteps with Suicide Squad and stuff like that. And I think it's really fascinating that Lego, which if you've played any of the Lego games, which I would highly recommend, if you like an IP like Indiana Jones or Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, play their Lego games, because they explore an IP that you know very well through a lot of the times a non-verbal lens. They do everything they do through mime. A lot of the characters don't talk, and that's fascinating to see what might be a serious IP or a serious moment done through the lens of like a child's comedy skit.
A child's comedy skit.
It's very endearing and very fun. And the gameplay is always very well thought out, and that's what fascinates me so much here. This is taking a game series effectively. I don't believe it's connected, but it's very, very clearly, if you look in the gameplay, like Mikey said, you can see like the foam bomb that he uses in the Arkham series, where he always draws his bat symbol with the foam. They do that exact thing. The combat's the exact same. A lot of this driving that we're seeing here looks very inspired by I mean, if I squint, this looks like Arkham Knight, which is really funny. And they're clearly paying homage to not just the IP. Also, if you saw any of the interviews that the developer did, the lead dev, while he was at Gamescom, he sounds like such a card, like such a funny dude, and he clearly is extremely passionate about Batman. And this just looks like a loving exploration and a continuation of the gameplay people love from that series, but through a Lego lens and with a cool IP. And I think that's fucking awesome. And I think I'm personally really excited about it. But some people might be like, this is why sequels is such an interesting conversation, because if you've been waiting for a gritty Arkham game for 10 years, and then the closest you've got to that is this, are some people going to be like disappointed that they don't get to see the curves in Catwoman? They got to look at some blocks, dude.
Well, there's nothing wrong with blocks.
This is true.
Blocks are beautiful, Jay.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, go ahead.
No. It's just I'm just interested to see how the overall audience perception on this. Like as Mikey gives his 2 cents here, I'd love to see you guys in chat. Like, what was your response to this? Was this like a Lego game, or was it like, oh, this looks like Batman Arkham? I'm fucking here for it, right? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts.
I'm looking in the chat. Denmark, the country of Denmark, with the Denmark flag of the avatar. It's hilarious. Yeah. Does he not know that the original Lego games were PS2 local co-op games? Sounds like he's only heard of them and not played them. Is he just really young or something? Well, no, that's what I don't know if that's directed at me, but that's what I was saying. Like, the Lego games originally were like that. They were like PS2 style action adventure, simple, like room to room linear experiences. And they were local co-op. There was like the Star Wars ones. And I did play them only a little bit. Like, I wasn't too into them because they weren't like incredibly deep. And that's what's interesting, is now the Lego game IP is taking some risks and doing some creative things with another new IP, Lego Batman. And it's, as Jay's pointing out, funny that it's closer of a sequel to something people would want, like the Arkham style games, than you would get from Rocksteady, the developers of that. Now, we could argue like, well, I mean, it's just Batman, but with a reskin. And that could be true. Like, we'll know when we play. But some would argue, I bet Tina would argue, like, well, if that's what people want, that's fine. And I mean, I'm not saying every game has to take huge risks and try weird shit, right, and be experimental. I think that there's merit to just doing something that's fun and like inspired by another IP and just all about the aesthetics, which is a lot of what I think this series would be. Some might argue Assassin's Creed is a lot like that. Like it's more about the aesthetic and the fun setting than it is gameplay innovation.
Yeah.
But that was one comment that I saw scrolling through the others.
Looking forward to playing it with a friend, says Simos. Like in the trailer we saw Batman switching to Gordon mid combat and like doing something to access a specific pipe. Like there is gonna, I'm almost certain this has co-op in it, which is just really cool. Like I long for the days of sitting on the couch with a friend and going through like a co-op game. I mean, one of my fondest memories is going through arguably a kind of poo-poo game, but Resi 5 in co-op.
No,
I
Resi
really
5's
fond
not
memories.
poo-poo. I poo-poo.
It has
you
some
for
poo-poo
saying
elements.
It's goofy. It's very goofy.
Yeah, but not goofy in like a Resi 4 way. It's goofy in a ooh kind of way.
It was.
Does that make any sense? Did I just have a stroke?
I think
I'm not sure.
No. You didn't have a stroke. I think your ooh indicated to me what you intended it to, which is it's too goofy. Like it's too extreme. Resident Evil 4 had some fun camp, but it kept things like from going out of control. 5 pushed it a little too much to the point where like, oh, I'm no longer amused by this. These characters seem to be taking themselves too seriously, and it's a little bit annoying. And then 6 was like 6 just fucking went off the deep end with the oof level and the goofiness, and that's why again they kind of jumped the shark and they were like, oh fuck, that was a little much.
Shit,
you gotta reel it back.
I think it's like George Lucas. I think I've gone too far in some areas. Like,
I think with the reason why I react to you that way about 5 is like taking the formula of 4, streamlining it. I don't think they needed to streamline it. I would have liked it if they didn't. But taking 4 and making that a cooperative experience, I think was like brilliant and an excellent design. And I just love the combat in that game, and I'm so glad to do that. And I like co-op games. I like multiplayer a lot. So I think that it deserves to be praised. I wouldn't say that it was a bad game. I would say it was a great game. And part of the campiness actually helps, right? When you're playing with your buddy and you're like, oh my God, look at what's happening. That's crazy.
Yeah, 100%.
But interestingly here, Barg says 5 annoyed them way more than 6. That's interesting. 6, I feel like annoyed me more with the goofiness and the quick time events and shit, but maybe I'd have to go back.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's Resident Evil 5. Go ahead.
Before we move on to our final topic, which I'm really excited to talk about, we've got a couple donations. We got one on Ko-Fi. Apologies if you ever donate via Ko-Fi. It takes a while for them to come through. Like sometimes it takes like half an hour. So if we don't get them the time you post them, we do apologize. But we got one from polio, as in the disease. Says James
with
Bond
2 L's,
could distinguish.
So.
Okay, does that distinguish it as not being disease?
He was a Roman soldier, politician, orator, poet, playwright, literary critic, and historian, according to Google. So that's polio with 2 L's.
And invented
Asinius Polio.
Inventor of the iron lung. Said James Bond could distinguish itself with. No, I'm joking. James Bond could distinguish itself with cluttered combat, Nathan Drake-style spectacle chase, but with civilians in the way, John Wick and common shooting with hidden silenced pistols in the crowded metro stations, lean into the spy theme of secret violence. Yeah, I like that stuff they can do. I'm excited. That was a great way of putting it, for sure.
It doesn't seem like they want to do that with the action. They want the more cinematics. I saw somebody on Twitter, I think, say it like the Pierce Brosnan style Bond action, which was very much influenced by like the expectations of 90s action movies, I think.
Yeah.
In the early 2000s. Daniel Craig also had plenty of that, right? In 2005 or 6 or whatever. So like very new Bond, you could say. But I think that I don't know. I really wish, so far it doesn't look like they're doing anything crazy with the action, but I think that there's ways that you could make that action and that combat feel unique and different from other third-person action games. And I also like Polio's suggestion here of secret violence, like the John Wick scene where you're both trying to shoot at each other but not hit civilians.
As dumb as it is, but like it's fun,
But something like that, like it's an action scene, but not as you would expect it. It's still got the secretness to it. Is a fun idea. The idea is
there's more
I wish they played around with it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's more failure states that aren't
just die.
Yeah, like killing civilians or being noticed while doing the thing. Like there's lots of fun things you can do, and I really hope that they do that. Boy Smash gives $2 and says, "Hey, YouTube, get your shit together." Very true. YouTube, get your shit together. It's very reassuring to all of us to see your immense amount of support coming through. People joining the Green Gang, coming over to Patreon. It's really alleviated a lot of our worries, and also it's really nice that a lot of fellow YouTubers were in the comments of that video, basically talking about how they've experienced the same thing, which makes us feel better because we're like, okay, it's not just happening to us. We're not just like being blacklisted by YouTube, or like you guys are just deciding you don't want to watch our stuff. Like most people are in there saying, hey, YouTube's not just serving me any of your stuff. I've missed it, which is really reassuring to us. So thank you to everyone who's been supporting us, and with these super chats right now, go directly towards that. Fungus Finder gives $2 and says, I just want Portal 3 and for it to somehow be good.
Portal 3.
I know a little something about a certain project, but I can't speak about it.
Jay, oh my goodness. Listen to what you just said. What could that mean?
It's not Portal 3.
Okay, that makes it a little less spicy, but still interesting.
Yeah, it's
I could totally. Yeah,
there's something. There's
Imply
something.
What you will.
But let's be real. We speak about Valve a lot on the podcast, in the sense that Valve seem like a weird heaven to work at and hell. Because I know of a couple projects that are in the works at Valve. Will they ever see the light of day? Probably not, because that's just how they work.
Without going into, I guess, too much detail, not that it's super secret or anything, but I know people who have worked at Valve, and I know someone there now, maybe even a couple people. I have to think about it, but one for sure, and they like it. So to be fair to Valve, like I've heard a lot of different things about how the decentralized environment can be difficult, and the trepidation over releasing games in general can be difficult, and like rumors about, and this is more public stuff that I've read, not from anyone I know there, of projects getting spun up and down. That's what I've heard described as the negatives about Valve, but none of that's like really confirmed. All I know for sure is the person that I do know there does seem to really like it. So there's some good parts too that I think people might overlook a little bit when they talk about working there. They mostly just talk about the mystique or some of the negatives I just mentioned.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but yeah,
unique team for sure.
Speaking of sequels, it's really funny, or I guess not funny. A game called Risk of Rain, which was like a 2D roguelike.
I remember that.
Then in their sequel, Risk of Rain 2, completely changed dimensions and went to a third-person shooter roguelike. Really fucking good game. Very different. Something happened with the publisher, or like the blah blah blah. The team had to leave, and they got picked up by Valve. So they now work at Valve. Which is really funny because a friend messaged me saying, hey, the Risk of Rain devs have now gone over to Valve because of the issues they encountered, which is great for them. I look forward to never seeing a game from them ever again. Because it's like, that's just what Valve do.
Well,
so
okay. But didn't so Valve does this, they pick up teams. I think this happened like as far back as they hired the team on Day of Defeat, right? They hired Min Lee, like the Counter-Strike creator, right? Like they do this. I don't know if they did that with the Team Fortress Classic guys. I believe they did, but they do this. I think the Firewatch team got hired and they worked on Half-Life Alyx, I want to say.
I believe so.
So it does, they do release stuff. So I could see it happening. We'll see. I'm the big thing. I guess we're on sequels, so I'll just mention this. I'm very, very curious to see I don't know anything about this. I think we'll see another Half-Life game at some point. I think the IP is too strong. I think that it's too interesting and there's so much money and they're just going to take their time with it. And I'm very curious to see what that looks like if it is an FPS, because shit has changed so much. It's been over 20 years since Half-Life 2. And Alex obviously, was a Half-Life IP game, but it was VR. So the core loop and the combat and just the design of it in general was so much dictated by that perspective, as it should have been, right?
Yeah.
But if they make another FPS Half-Life, what would that look like? I'm so curious, and it's probably getting played around with. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that we will see something, because even if they have all the money, let's remember the prestige, right? Releasing stuff that is well received by a team that's eager and hungry and that are otherwise like not doing too much and have all the time in the world. Prestige is a factor too, and people certainly haven't forgotten yet about Half-Life.
Yeah, 100%. Oh god, seeing footage of Alex, I absolutely love Alex so much.
Alex is sick.
So good.
Yeah. I'm a big Half-Life fanboy, so I had some bias here, but yeah, you did.
Speaking of being a fanboy, I have been waiting for a certain game that came out yesterday for a long time. I think it's like 7 years. Closing in on 8. So I'm speaking about what's on everyone's lips nowadays, which is Silksong, which is the sequel to Hollow Knight. I tried to buy it yesterday morning, and it fucking broke Steam, which is hilarious. It took me 2.5 hours to buy that game, to give them money. Now, that is insane. That is because I think the concurrent players the highest it reached was 562,000 concurrent players at its peak. It currently has 494,000. That makes it the third highest played game on Steam, which is nuts for an indie game. Like, absolutely insane. And now the question is, why did it break Steam? That's because the devs were kind of silly and were like, we're releasing the game in 2 weeks, and didn't allow for any kind of preload or pre-purchase system, mainly because they're not doing pre-orders and giving things with the pre-order. But there is value in giving pre-orders out to people for digital products, so this shit doesn't happen, because it closed down Steam, as in you couldn't put in codes for other games to redeem them. Steam was down. You couldn't download other games. Other people not even wanting to use, to get Silksong, could not download games because of this. So there is value in doing pre-orders for digital products.
Yeah.
So, but it's crazy, that an indie game can do this. And to be fair, there has been an unnatural amount of hype built up around Silksong. I think a lot of people, even who haven't played Hollow Knight, have jumped on the Silksong hype train. But it's crazy that a sequel to an indie game can break the internet. It also shut down the Nintendo eShop. Wild. Absolutely wild.
Dude, we're at a, we talk a lot about on the show about all this, a lot of negative stuff, right? Because that's part of what the discourse is for, right? We're trying to discuss things we don't like, how they could be better, things we like, and how we want more of them. There's a lot of negativity and criticism in any sort of gaming podcast, right? And in the content that we make here. I think it's worth noting that as bad as a lot of that stuff can be, at least we exist at a time when gaming, we're all gamers here right now, and in Jay and my's case, developers, and with all the other developers, where we're developing and or playing games in a time where shit like that can happen, where an indie team can just come out of nowhere and be like, oh, we're ready, here it is, you're gonna play it in, looks at watch, 2 weeks, and then that happens and it just explodes. We live in a time where a AAA franchise like Battlefield can come back swinging, and it can smash records and finally, allegedly, hopefully, address and react to feedback in its combat design, right, in its class design, in its level design, and in its cosmetic design. There's a lot of good stuff that we could just take a moment to appreciate. both like all along the spectrum. And one of the things on this indie end of the spectrum is that an indie game of, I don't know how big that team is. I assume it's less than 50 for sure. Probably less.
It's free.
Three people. There you go. Look what they did. Like the BattleBit team, which was also 3 people essentially, maybe 4. The smash hits. It's a lot of like, it's kind of crazy and scary, right? Just like the power of going viral. But it's something that's special because a lot of these games deserve it. Like they're good ass games and they have good reason.
They're really good
viral.
games. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you liking Silksong so far?
I don't want to give any spoilers for people because I know a lot of people are aiming to play over the weekend. So I'm not going to give any spoilers here on specifics. I just released a video, Mikey, for context, on how Hollow Knight is intentionally designed to make you feel bad. As in the opening hours. Oh, you watched it? Okay.
I did. Yep.
So you're familiar with that and how the designs of it are basically set up so that kind of an extreme form of juxtaposition gratification or delayed gratification. And that's really interesting and that's very lovely to theorize and talk about when it's not happening. I'm just about to finish Act 1. The first game isn't split into acts, but this one is. I believe I'm about to finish Act 1. I've already seen my theory in motion of just like some of the early game kind of feels bad. Like there's some of the platforming, they introduced some new mechanics, just feel kind of jank. And I was really down because I was like, this kind of feels bad. Like I don't like this. Then I found something that changed the platforming and like gave me something else. And then suddenly it was a lot easier to do. And I was like, okay, cool. And like I can see the evolution. There's just I feel like they've ramped the difficulty up quite a lot, and I'm going to be making a video on it, so I don't want to say too much. But at the moment, I feel like you have at the start of the game 6 pips of health. Most bosses I've encountered do 2 damage per hit, so you effectively have 3 hits. And how they've changed the healing system makes healing yourself kind of difficult. So I'm looking forward to getting to like further into it because I've clearly only scraped the surface, considering I feel like I've played for like 12 hours and I haven't finished Act 1 is kind of nuts. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it progresses, because at the moment I think I'm still in the kind of feeling bad phase. And I'm just trying to remember that that it's
feeling
intentional
bad,
and that will stop.
Feeling bad is in like I feel weak, but I'm supposed to be weak right now. Like as
I'm supposed to be weak. I'm supposed to be getting smacked hard. I'm supposed to be struggling with some of the platforming, so that later when I get upgrades and actually progress through the game, that has some satisfaction to it. And the difficulty is slightly mitigated by having different tools. And I'm already experiencing that, so I'm not holding it against the game. I completely understand that it's intentional, but the problem is there are, and I know this because they're friends of mine, a lot of people who are playing this game have not played Hollow Knight. And Hollow Knight is a difficult game. It's famously quite difficult. I feel like this game is twice as hard. And I've just finished like a playthrough of Hollow Knight again. I've completed it like 4 times. And there are points where I'm sweating and I'm like, damn, like this game's rough. I feel like if you haven't played a 2D combat focused Metroidvania before, you are going to fucking struggle. Like you are going to struggle with this game. And I just hope people can push through that rather than, I feel like a lot of people are going to have that. This game feels bad in the early game and I'm struggling, and hold that against the game and be like, the game's bad. And I don't think that's the case. I think we just need some time. Actually, who knows? I might get all the way through it and just be like, yeah, it's shit. I mean, I doubt it.
I felt weak the whole way. It's shit.
Yeah. It made me weaker IRL. My spine has lost vertebrae.
I'm all hunched over now because I played that hard game and I was all tense up on the controller.
I'm literally, I can't feel my legs. So we didn't know.
Yeah. Good.
yeah, it's like we don't know how it's gonna pan out for the end of the game. I'm enjoying myself. I'm definitely enjoying myself. I woke up really early this morning, and I was struggling to get back to sleep, and I was like, let's go play Hollow Knight.
There's a special feeling, I think, to gaming in the morning, gaming in the early morning.
It's
the
a
light's
good
just
one.
coming in a little bit. Yeah, you got a coffee, feel cozy, feel like that kind of sleepiness. It's like, I'm doing this and I don't have to focus on like work or like productivity things yet. That's for later. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy myself. And it's like an unexpected thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It was just one of those issues of like, I was like, oh yeah, I'll go do some exploration. Realized that I like stopped playing at a boss, got in and immediately died. And I was like, okay, well, I've got to stop being cozy and I've got to fucking lock in because it's like so hard. But yeah, really enjoying myself. I hope everyone who's playing at home is really enjoying it. I think it's
they
really
are, man.
Powerful. Yeah,
I think they are. Look at the fucking reviews. Now, there's definitely a honeymoon phase with a lot of games, right? It depends on the game and it depends on the reception. But right now, it's sitting at overwhelmingly positive, 95%, 20,500 reviews. Game came out yesterday, and it is 11:42 a.m. PT today. So it has not been that long, and it's been explosive, as you described.
Well, 500,000 people are currently playing it on Steam alone. That's nuts. We're not going to see another indie release like this for a long time. And weirdly enough, I think it is due to the hype of just not releasing for 7 years and just being quiet about it and allowing people to speculate and allowing people to get excited about reveals and there not being any. This shows the power of just like keeping your cards close to your chest and allowing yourself to just cook, because there's lots more of the game, I'm sure, but there's parts of this game where I've got through and I've been like, this has been a lot of content. I would be happy if the game just like this was it, but I know there's lots more, right? And it's because they've given themselves that time. Because if this game came out in its current state, because I'm not sure if you're aware, Mikey, this was originally slated as a DLC for Hollow Knight. And then it kind of got a little bit out of hand and they realized that it should be its own game. So they decided they were going to make it into its own game. More power to them. But if this game came out at this state as DLC, I guarantee you it would not have the same reception as it has now. It's like back then when Hollow Knight was coming out, it was still kind of niche. Like it wasn't the cultural phenomenon it currently is.
It's interesting because I think Hollow Knight it was 7 years. Let me double check the date. Hollow Knight 1 came out roughly 2017. Yeah. That was in like kind of the 2010s were interesting because there was definitely an indie explosion, but there were a lot of 2D side scrollers specifically, especially in the early 2010s. When it came to the indie projects, that's what you expected. It was something that I feel like kind of worked against on the projects that I worked on, right? Like Black Mesa and the OG Insurgency and otherwise, where there wasn't a lot of attention or exposure for indie games that were not side scrollers. It felt like, at least, like most people expected that. And Hollow Knight stood out for all the reasons that it did, right? The beautiful art, the good challenge, the simple design that expanded, right? The elegant design, we could call it, and we do call it.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Like if this were just DLC for that, it wouldn't have been as explosive and nice. There's a lot of merit also to the, hey, let's just release it. Like out of nowhere, they announce it. It's also pretty damn risky. I think what worked for them was they were a cultural force, right? Hollow Knight got in kind of early, in a sense. It got in at the right time before other people were doing such a game. It was also a really well-made game. Like as far as 2D platformers go, it's probably one of the perfect examples of it that hits everything right. You know, the art style, the mood, the combat, the progression, the difficulty. And it seems to me, because I've only played a little bit of Hollow Knight and a little bit of Silksong recently, like in preparation for this conversation.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw. Like what I saw was just like an elegant, refined, just extremely 100%. Well executed 2D platformer Metroidvania with a little bit of a Souls-like influence as far as the rogueliteness of it, right? The punishing death, etc. The loss of
dropping currencies, the bonfire-esque nature of the benches and stuff like that. It's taken a lot of influences. Yeah, it was responsible for revitalizing a genre. Like, arguably, the cultural obsession with Metroidvanias was kicked off by Hollow Knight. It was still a genre that was being made, but it wasn't being explored too intensely. And then, kind of similar to Dark Souls making Souls-likes, we are seeing a lot of Souls-likes and we're seeing a lot of Metroidvanias because Hollow Knight made a shit ton of money and was really fun.
It was the OG, you're saying. Yeah.
Well, it's less of the OG of not like obviously Symphony of the Night is
the revival
OG. Popular, the revival, and that's what's kind of spurred on a lot of developers trying to do the same thing. And we saw a lot of imitators, some good, some bad, over the last 7 years, and that's really interesting. But in that conversation of this game is good, people were always coming back to this is just trying to be Hollow Knight, or this is like Hollow Knight. It was always the comparison point. So that, along with it never having a reveal, just kept this game in the cultural conversation for a long time, which is unheard of for indie games. I cannot think of an indie team that got like this much of a cultural force as much as Team Cherry did, and I'm proud of them.
I could think of one that's a lot.
Okay.
This game did not have as explosive of a cultural force release as you just described, but I will say that this reminds me a little bit of another game that we talked about before. Do you know the one that it is? And it's The Forest and Sons of the Forest. The Forest devs were fucking quiet. They didn't say shit for years. Then they come out and they just kind of reveal Sons of the Forest. They go, here it is. People are like, oh my God, cool. Like, it's a new area, right? And there's going to be new enemies, and there's going to be new guns, and there's going to be all this new stuff. But it's still very much the foundation, or very much in the style of the original The Forest survival, where you're doing the building, you're doing some exploration of caves, you're coming back out, and you're progressing through a story. Like, it was still very much a Forest IP game. So all that's great. And when Sons of the Forest did finally like hit everybody with it, it wasn't exactly like Silksong. They didn't say, hey, here it is, it's come out in 2 weeks. But they did announce it. They had a couple delays. Their quietness, I think, did work, right? It's risky, but that kind of quietness where you don't really build up an audience is sometimes an effective tool. It like really depends on who you are. Like I don't advise this for most teams to try to do. I think you have to have had a hit of some level first.
100%.
Of course. And then even then, like it's risky. You could just easily come out and people are like, no, you lost the vision. This isn't it. But it seems like that didn't happen with Silksong at all because they knew what they were. They improved on everything. The game's still beautiful. It's still got the core to it. The combat feels different and it's in a fun way. And there's nothing egregious about it. Basically, it doesn't seem.
Yeah, while I was waiting for the to buy it, which is hilarious. Waiting 2.5 hours, I was just kind of like scratching my head, just thinking of stuff to do. And I saw that it already had like 1,000 reviews and the game had been out for like half an hour or whatever. And I was like, what the fuck? So I went to view some of them. Most of them were like, ha, isn't it funny that this broke Steam? Fair. But one of them was like, and they clearly only played 5 minutes, but they were like, it feels familiar, but different, which sounds not very descriptive, but in a way, I think that is exactly how it feels to play. I feel like I'm playing a Hollow Knight game, but there's so many new things that I'm like, it feels fresh. And for me, that feels like the distillation of a perfect sequel to me. It's something where I'm like, I feel like I'm home, but it's fresh, right? We got a new coat of paint, and that you've moved my furniture, and I don't know where I am. Please help. You know,
but it's still home.
Yeah, and that's what it is to me.
Well, that makes sense, and maybe that's what a good sequel is. Maybe you just distilled it in a really attractive, compact, neat way, where it feels familiar, but it's different. My favorite sequels, I always mention these because I think they're really good examples, like the new Doom games. Doom 2016 felt familiar because it was fast-paced action, it was demon slaying, it was gory, it was metal as fuck, but it was very different from OG Doom, right? You could say this about Resident Evil 2. You could say this about all kinds of sequels. Sons of the Forest, one I just gave. Battlefield 6, another game that we talked about today, and obviously a sequel in a long line of Battlefield, more than 6, actually. I think it feels familiar, but it's different, and it's different in a fun way. You have to evolve. You have to try new things, as opposed to games that feel familiar and not that different. Like maybe some of the Assassin's Creed games didn't feel different enough. Could be an example of like a rough sequel, a game that feels not very familiar and too different, like Resident Evil 6, right? Like, okay, yeah, like a little familiar, but this is like going way too far down a path that was supposed to just be gone down a little bit as far as the action and the campiness. They went way too far and that kind of thing. Maybe that's what 100%. A good sequel is.
Yeah, I think one of the we just got.
You got me wishing for another Halo, Jay. Sorry, now I'm all thinking about
in your dreams.
Talk about sequels. God,
Captain President came in with $10. Thank you, and says something that I think is funny and also made me think. GTA moved to a spring release to get out of Silksong's way. Yeah, they knew they were in contact with each other.
They were scared.
I think
they were spying.
GTA, GTA, and they've got the money to do so. GTA is another series that is seemingly doing the same thing. It's like it's always giving you the familiar. The gameplay is always usually functioning in the exact same way, but it's in a new setting with a new coat of paint, with new narratives, and I think, and usually new themings. And I think that's how they keep them fresh. And I genuinely think the only game that could definitely break the record of like breaking everything would be GTA 6. It's a shame they're not coming out on PC for their initial release, but
but they'll almost certainly port it if they haven't said already.
Give it a year. They usually take a long time.
I have to admit, I've been thinking about this, and we mentioned it before. And I mean, I'm ready to be proven wrong, of course, because of expressed skepticism about sequels before. Like Resident Evil 4's remake, I was like, Resident Evil 4 is fine. Whatever innovations you're going to do, they're just going to make it not feel like 4, and it's just going to not be that great. I was totally wrong. Like they did a lot of great stuff. They got the campiness right. They got the movement during combat right. They got the knife gameplay right. Like there was so much right about that, and then expanded even down to like the little shooting mini games. And that's 4, and I was wrong there. So maybe I'll be wrong here, but I feel kind of skeptical about GTA 6. It's been like 12 years, and they did a great job, obviously, with their other franchises, right? Like Red Dead. But I feel like there's a lot of really dated stuff in GTA 5 that needs to have like a quantum leap of innovation. And since they've gone to a modern setting and it's still going to be third-person combat, which as we can see with First Light, like it's pretty hard to innovate on that and get it right and feeling good.
Yeah, it is.
The irreverent tone might not match very well. Like there's a lot of more higher sensitivity to gamers. We could talk about where it's warranted or where it's not, but it's different now. Yeah. The climate is different. I'm not sure how well that's going to be received. And I don't know if you've played any GTA Online lately, but there's a lot of issues with it. Like it's hard just straight up to get into.
I'm a big fan of GTA Online. I'm fully familiar with its issues for sure.
Yeah, me too. But like, wow, it's hard to just get into a fucking game. and then on top of that, a lot of the tone, because of the live service style and all the post-release content, it's just wacko. There's a lot of characters that'll be speaking in that game, or missions that you'll try to engage in, and they feel kind of shallow because you could just feel the treadmill turning, and you could feel the tone of the game. It's gone too far into that campiness, like Resident Evil 6 style, where it's hard to get invested, and you're playing at co-op, and like it's really hard to capture everybody's attention in a cinematic cutscene in co-op. I've seen a lot of those problems with GTA 5, and I wonder what 6 is going to be like there. I mean, we've been let down before by big franchises as players, so it wouldn't surprise me if the sequel was actually more underwhelming than people were expecting. And also, like let's be real, like The game's so hyped. It's so hyped. It's so scarily hyped. Let's not forget what happened with Cyberpunk 2077, dude. Like, that shit was mega hyped, and it was a bit of a letdown. I think that was unwarranted, but it was mostly for technical issues. But I think that we could see something similar with GTA 6. It wouldn't surprise me too much because they have a lot that they have to live up to. And what we've seen so far just like is a little bit dated, or just in the cases online, just like being poorly executed.
Yeah, I'm hey chat, remember this conversation. I want this part of the conversation pinned in the comments of this YouTube this YouTube stream. I want to revisit this. When it comes out, I really want to dive into before it comes out, I want us to dive into our wants of what we want from it as a sequel, and then how it does when it's out. I think that could be a really, really interesting conversation.
Well, here, let's say for one, I'm ready to be proven wrong. I would love to be proven wrong because I really like GTA Online in particular, and I love playing with my friends. I've had so many funny moments. And it's like some of the the heists are genuinely pretty fucking fun.
They're good, yeah.
And there's a level of coordination you do with your friends that you don't get in other games. There's this kind of fun immersiveness of like driving down to not Venice Beach and just playing dress up with hats. Like there's so much that's great about it, but there's a lot of problems too. Here's what I would like to see from GTA 6. The first is no surprise, but better combat for sure, right? Better shooting, better more mechanics when it comes to fighting people instead of just aim, shoot, take cover would be a big one. Some innovation as far as like the driving goes would be another one. I mean, that one's not like a big high requirement for me, but it would be nice. And then the big one I think is the multiplayer design. Like I really think that the heists are cool, but it creates this kind of content treadmill where you just have to keep on producing heists on heists on heists, and you're very dependent on the developers. I think they need to invest in more emergent style gameplay or performative style social design, right? Where like try to integrate a little more of like some RP mode style stuff. Take some inspiration from sim games like Schedule One. Experimenting with the multiplayer design in those ways where it feels more like an open world. Less about
dynamic
like,
events as well from games like Guild Wars 2, like things that happen in the open world that will draw players to them, that then have a natural progression that take them across the map, effectively telling a story through different things that dynamically happen in the world. So it's more organic rather than leaving the multiplayer and going to into like an instanced heist. So as fun as they are, I really enjoyed them. I was adamant for years that GTA 6 would be just fully online. Like they wouldn't have a single player, and they would just put all of their eggs in that basket. I was proven wrong.
Made a lot of money.
In hindsight, I'm glad they did. But like I really think, I'm not sure if they've announced that it will have an online, but it will.
There's no way it won't.
Like what they'll do with it, I think they're definitely. I saw the evolution of the heists happen in real time, obviously through playing it, and they got much better at making them more entertaining and fun. And I just view that as a staging ground for like what they're gonna do with 6. So like I'm actually really excited to see what they're gonna cook up. But I'm okay with being proven wrong. If it's shit, cool.
Whatever, they tried, and everybody learns a lesson about hype again. I'd like to be proven wrong, man. It would be so like if you think about the evolution of GTA 4 online multiplayer, which is basically just like a glorified deathmatch with cops in it and like pickups and shit. It was actually kind of old school with some like arena shooter weapon style pickups. And then 5 and now 6. Dude, more power to them. They have to have been paying attention to all the GTA RP stuff. They have to have been paying attention
100%.
to the explosion of content creators and streamers and influencers and designing in a way that would be attractive to them to play and empowering them to engage with their communities and be performative. Like, so I imagine they have to be doing something like that with the online. That's what, like, the shooting's important to me. The car is like, whatever, would be nice. But I guess that's probably the most important aspect. And hopefully they are, but let me ask you, like, what are the big things you would want to see out of 6 as a sequel and just as a game?
Yeah, more dynamic. Add more dynamic elements to the multiplayer. Like, I really like the single player, and I'm sure there's going to be a wonderful, bombastic single player. I've never really been that attracted to the single player of 5 and 4 and San Andreas. I want there to be, I think that's it. Just more reasons to be in the open world, more ways to create ludo narrative through the play experiences in the open world with my friends, because that's how you're making those memorable moments, is giving systemic designs in the open world to allow you to create your own story through play. I think they had something really good there with the RP nature of the game, and I hope they lean into that. That's why I was kind of hoping they would just do an online GTA 6 and just really put all their eggs in that basket. But
yeah, that's probably the most important thing. I think you're right. As much as the single player is going to be good, the implications of the story seem interesting. They seem to be going after like a real millennial couple experience, which I think is interesting and speaking something about their audience and their own age. But the online is probably the most important thing, which they acknowledge too. And I really hope they do something innovative. I'm sure they're trying something, but we will see. We will see if it's effective.
Yeah, I think this is probably the thing that will overtake Silksong for the most hyped thing, because I don't think people realize how many copies GTA 5 sold, like, and how much money that the online mode of that game makes.
And continues to make.
Insane. It's like Fortnite. I think maybe even more than Fortnite levels of money. It's silly.
Their design is very mobile game influenced, and this is something that I think gamers often overlook, is like the power of a lot of mobile game design. Yeah, shark card style stuff, microtransactions. A lot of money gets made for them. What was nice about GTA Online is like the gameplay was still pretty fun. The heists were good content. You didn't have to engage with it. But yeah, we'll see how much of that will go into a modern one, because I don't think modern players will be as tolerant as they are right now of GTA Online and some of its practices. On top of just the technical shit, and like, God, it's so hard to get into a game sometimes. I tried to get back into it with friends recently, and everybody got too frustrated to continue, or couldn't complete the tutorial to get back into it after they released the enhanced edition.
Yeah, it's really silly. Like the infrastructure they're using to keep GTA alive, it's basically life support. It's kind of silly, but yeah, we'll see how all of that pans out. Before we wrap things up, we've got one more donation from Dark Jackal with $10. Thank you so much. It says, in honor of Silksong being released, I picked up 9 souls. Was just bashing my head against Celestial Spectre Shanghui, and I finally beat it. Phew. Anyways, Hanks, for all your hard work on second win, smiley face. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy 9 Souls. That's a game that, similar to Hollow Knight, which I've spoken about on other podcasts, I bought Hollow Knight and then refunded it because I didn't like it. Then went back to it years later and became one of my favorite games of all time. I played 9 Souls. I refunded it because I was like, I'm not enjoying this. I'm going to get a refund. And I fully intend to go back to it. I do this a lot. If I don't intend to play a game at that moment, I will refund it, and then I'll come back to it later on. I need to see a video or hear someone's opinion on why I should push through the early game in that game. I'm sure it's wonderful. I'm not saying it's bad, by the way. It just wasn't for me at that time in my life. I needed more Hello Kitty Island adventure.
I like that you go back to it. Not everybody does that. They just decide, shit, I'm not touching it again. But you actually take the time to go back.
Yeah, it's never something of like, oh, it's bad. It's like a habit of, I don't know. It was born from when I was a poor uni student and I would only have so much money. So if I wasn't vibing with a game, even if I liked it, but I just felt like I wanted to play something else, if I had this inkling of, I want to go play a multiplayer game or do this, I would refund it. And then I would revisit it later on and just use future money. And I have disposable income now. I'm not a poor uni student, but that like habit is still ingrained in me. So I tend to refund games a lot. But fucking Omar messaged in chat, big ups Omar, but retracted the message. Did he just say like, get fucked, Jay? 9 Souls is great. You're scum.
Wow.
Oh, he says, hey, that's a cool and sexy Adventurer's Night TM t-shirt. Where can I get one? Oh, you mean this thing? Yeah, this is Second Wind merch.
Do you think I'm gonna drink water?
Yeah. I'll plug the merch, and I'll be real. That's a really nice T-shirt. This is one of the characters from Adventurers 9, and we got the dice all around. It's also very Doom coded. It looks like one of the
little bit
Doom
of
enemies.
dog from Half-Life 2.
Yeah,
with the red eye.
it's really really sick, and I like it. And I didn't wear it today to plug it. I just fucking like it. And you can get this today at DFTBA. Is that the name of the place, Omar? Our merch site where you can pick up this. There's one of Yahtzee, and also, guys, I think in the next few months we're going to be dropping a Design Delve new T-shirt, and I'm kind of like umming and ahhing about the design. I want something a little bit more subtle. So if you guys have ideas for merch designs for Design Delve, message in the Design Delve chat, and we'll talk, because I want to get something that you guys enjoy and actually want to wear. That's what we want to move towards, is stuff that you guys will actually want to wear. And I mean, I think we succeeded with this, because I genuinely want to wear this because it's fucking badass. So if you want one of these, go check out the merch store. We will link it below.
You'll see I'm sporting an off-white, sort of like, what do you call it? It's not like a charcoal-y thing, but there's just like
an eggshell?
It's off-white, but it's got this kind of granite effect.
Oh yeah, like the
I think there's a term for it
on it.
Yeah, little dashies you could see right there. Maybe if I puff out my chest,
it gives it some dimension.
Wrinkly. Yeah, and I really like it. It's Old Navy. It's not associated with Second Wind, but I think you'll find that it's. Well, I just wanted to say something about my shirt, Jay. To be honest, I felt quite insecure because you look so good in your Second Wind merch. So
we'll send you one, and then we'll send you one. On next episode, you can do a plug.
Oh, lovely.
Of what to get Second Wind merch.
That sounds nice.
100%. So yeah, thank you so much. What you want to design? Okay, when the Design Delve one comes out, we'll send you that.
Well, I mean, I'll take any shirt you give me. I won't say no to a free shirt.
Do you know what? I'm gonna send you all of them. I'm gonna get you one of every shirt we've ever done. I don't have the power to do that. I don't know why I said that.
He made a commitment publicly.
Omar's the merch man. I'm sure he can hook you up. I'll get hooked with Omar, who will then hook you up. It'll be like a chain. It'll be like a daisy chain of merch.
Andy Van says, give him the shirt off your back. Thank you, Andy. Jay, it won't mean anything to me unless it came from your back. I want your shirt. I want you to go to the post office right now and mail me your shirt.
That would be a huge power play. Going to the post office and immediately taking your shirt off, neatly folding it and putting it in a box and saying, West Coast, please.
West Coast.
They're like, where? And I'm like, Mikey from DevHeads,
Just write Mikey on it. Oh shit, look what Eric just posted. Der schnellste Weg zu deinem Paket. The fastest way for your package. Mom, my German's so rusty. Die Empfang. Eric just put up a picture of a dashing looking German man holding a package with his shirt off. It's post.
Package is in box. Package as in box.
Yes. Sorry. Package as in box. Thank you, Jay. Österreichische Post AG. So AG. Okay, so this is an Austrian service?
Yeah, it's Austrian.
Eric, where'd you find this? And why do you know it's Austrian?
Because he posted a message saying screenshot from Austria's postal service.
This is
actually no. I'm Sherlock.
Wait, that's a .a. Is that an official government? Okay, that's interesting. I guess in Austria they're more sexually free, so they're more okay with the human body in the typical Euro fashion.
I mean, we can't see nipples. He might not have any.
We don't see nipples here. That's true. But we do see a strapping man and most of his pectorals.
This is true.
What were we?
On that note,
about?
we were talking about merch, and then I was like, okay, well, we've had a riveting conversation for over 2 hours. I've really enjoyed our chat. I don't know about you guys in the chat listening, but this kind of slightly different format where we're talking about some news things and we're talking about a range of topics, I've really enjoyed. Jermaine's Scottish? No, I'm not. I'm descended from Scottish people. My grand's Scottish. And my character in Adventurers Now is Scottish. Check out Adventurers Now.
Jay is from Czechia.
Yes, this is true.
Can't you hear it in his accent?
Yeah. Checkmate. Atheists. I really enjoy this. I hope you guys have, Mikey. I hope you've enjoyed this as well. It's been it's been riveting.
This has been nice. We want to try this format more, and we need to know. Well, we don't need to know. We welcome knowing. Don't write a comment unless you want to. We welcome knowing. We want to know your feedback on if you feel like this format worked well. Let us know your thoughts. If it felt like we covered a lot of great topics and it was engaging, felt too scattered, if it requires more focus, anything, just let us know your thoughts in the comments. And also join the Discord and tell us there too, where we're more able to respond to you effectively. So leave a YouTube comment, leave a Discord message in the DevHeads channel, whatever you feel. We welcome the feedback. Truly, we're still committed to what we said in January about listening to your feedback, and that's part of why, at least part of why, we're doing this. We think that it will be addressing some of the feedback we've gotten before about doing a lot of different game streams, how that might have felt a little heavy. So let us know what you think.
Yeah, 100%. And as a reminder, we just put out a video on what's been happening on the channel. And just remember that if you're not currently a patron, there is lots of really exciting Patreon exclusive content that will never really see the light of day on YouTube. We've got a bunch of different videos from Yahtzee. I'm heading up a weird ranking series on there, which I didn't intend to be heading up, but apparently I'm doing it. The first one we did was Smash Bros. Ultimate Smash or Pass Ultimate Edition, where we ranked all of the Smash Bros. Characters by how smashable they were.
You mean like fuckable?
Which was fun. Yeah. Which was interesting. And the most recent one we've done was Yahtzee joined us and Jack Packard joined us, which was ranking all of the rooms in blueprints based on how effective they would be to host a Jackie Chan fight scene. Which was really dumb and a really fun conversation. I don't believe that one is currently uploaded, but we're gonna get it up soon. We're just gonna do a little bit of editing with it, but it's really fun. The ranking videos are some of the most fun I've had making content here. So you can only get them on Patreon. So if you want to support us and you want to see that chaos, consider joining the Patreon. As many of you
all the more
have already.
With YouTube, right, and the stuff that they're changing. So
yeah, they're making a lot of changes. So Patreon is our key way of keeping us afloat. And because of you, that is a reality. We're afloat because of you, and we're just trying to make Patreon a better place. It's a little bit hard to navigate the content mill of Patreon. How they display it is odd, but we just want to make it as nice of a place as possible for you guys, so you get a little bit of bang for your buck, if you will. Checkmate atheists. I don't know how to end the stream. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Really hope you enjoyed it. Give us your feedback. And from me and Mikey, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.